Breaking news. Melania Trump kicked out of airport over luggage dispute. But that's not even the craziest part of the story. What happened next left everyone stunned. In the next few minutes, you'll discover how a simple misunderstanding turned into a national spectacle, the shocking twists that changed everything, and the unexpected lessons we can all learn from this bizarre incident. Stay tuned because this story is about to take a turn you won't believe. The bustling airport terminal hummed with activity as travelers rushed to their gates. Amidst the sea of hurried faces and rolling luggage, Melania Trump, the former First Lady, strode confidently toward security. Her designer outfit and perfectly coiffed hair contrasted starkly with those around her. The sound of luggage wheels on tile echoed through the terminal, mingling with the aroma of coffee from nearby cafes. Melania's heels clicked purposefully, drawing more attention with each step. Her eyes darted from side to side, taking in the curious stares and whispers. Despite years in the public eye, this scrutiny felt different, more intense. For a moment, Melania recalled her previous airport experiences, breezing through security with VIP treatment, but today felt different. She took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders and lifting her chin slightly. As she placed her luggage on the conveyor belt, the security staff exchanged glances. The lead officer's eyes narrowed as he studied the X-ray screen. Melania's face tightened almost imperceptibly, realizing this wouldn't be typical. The officer motioned for Melania to step aside. "Ma'am, we need to inspect your bags," he said firmly. The crowd fell silent, straining to hear. Melania's eyes widened, surprise and indignation flashing across her face. "Is there a problem?" she asked, her accent more pronounced. The officer explained they had detected something unusual, potentially violating regulations. Confusion crossed Melania's face as she glanced at her bags. As staff removed items from her luggage, the crowd grew. Phones raised, capturing every moment. Melania stood tall, but those closest saw the tension in her shoulders and slight trembling of her hands. The inspection stretched on. Each item removed drew more whispers. Designer clothes, expensive cosmetics, and personal items were examined. The atmosphere grew charged, celebrity status clashing with airport regulations before a captivated audience. Suddenly, the lead officer's eyes widened. He lifted an ornate, jewel-encrusted bottle from the bag. A collective gasp rose from onlookers. Melania's face paled. Her lips parted, but no words came out. The officer turned to her. "Ma'am, can you explain this?" The crowd held its breath, waiting for Melania's response. In that moment, the former First Lady seemed to shrink, the weight of public scrutiny bearing down on her. As tensions peaked in the terminal, no one could have predicted how quickly this luggage dispute would spiral beyond the airport walls. What invisible force was about to turn a private moment into a public spectacle? The first tweet appeared innocently enough. A traveler snapped a photo of Melania Trump surrounded by security personnel. "Former First Lady held up at airport?" The caption was more question than statement, but it was all it took to light the fuse. Within minutes, the photo ricocheted across social media platforms. Twitter exploded with speculation. A Melania airport drama began trending, closely followed by Luggage Gate. The original post multiplied into thousands of retweets and shares. As the digital wildfire spread, conflicting eyewitness accounts poured in. Some painted Melania as the victim of overzealous security. Others claimed she was throwing a fit over preferential treatment. The truth lay somewhere in the murky middle, but nuance rarely trends on Twitter. Local news outlets caught wind of the commotion first. A traffic helicopter diverted for an aerial view of the airport. Grainy footage of a growing crowd hit local airwaves, with anchors scrambling to piece together the story. Inside the terminal, the atmosphere shifted. Travelers who moments ago hurried past now lingered, phones held high, hoping to capture a viral moment. The click of camera shutters mixed with airport announcements, creating a surreal soundtrack. Melania's team, caught off guard by the sudden media frenzy, frantically worked their phones. But in the age of instant news, they were already playing catch-up. Airport staff found themselves thrust into unexpected roles. Security officers faced a wall of cameras and shouted questions. The baggage handler who first flagged the issue was suddenly sought after for interviews, his 15 minutes of fame arriving in the most unexpected way. As speculation ran wild, major news networks picked up the story. Regular programming gave way to breaking news banners. Pundits filled airtime with theories, each more outlandish than the last. The simple question of what was in Melania's luggage morphed into heated debates about celebrity culture, airport security, and the role of social media in modern news. In just an hour, a routine security check had transformed into a full-blown media circus. The airport terminal became an impromptu press conference. Reporters jostled for position, each hoping to break the real story behind numbered luggage gate. Lost in the chaos were the other travelers, their own journeys momentarily forgotten. Some expressed frustration at the delays, while others seemed almost giddy to witness such an unexpected event. A few even tried to slip past security unnoticed, adding to the growing headache for airport staff. As the frenzy reached its peak, a simple luggage dispute had ballooned into a national talking point. Cable news tickers teased, "Airport chaos, what's really in Melania's bag?" Social media influencers live-streamed their hot takes. Everyone, it seemed, had an opinion on a situation they knew almost nothing about. The crowd at the airport terminal held its breath as Melania Trump faced off against airport security. What began as a routine check had turned into a tense showdown. Melania stood rigid, arms crossed, her designer sunglasses hiding her eyes. The lead security officer shifted his weight, glancing between Melania and his clipboard. "Ma'am," he said, his voice strained, "I understand your position, but we have protocols. Your status doesn't change that." Melania's foot tapped, her stiletto echoing in the quiet terminal. "This is ridiculous," she said, her accent thickening. "I've flown hundreds of times. Never has this been an issue." The officer stepped closer. "Mrs. Trump, please understand. We're just doing our job." For a moment, Melania's shoulders sagged. She looked at her bag, then at the long line behind her. She could give in, let them search. But something inside her rebelled at the thought. She straightened, lifting her chin. "I won't allow it." Onlookers watched, transfixed. Phones rose, capturing every second. Near the check-in counter, voices rose in support of Melania. "Leave her alone," someone shouted. Others disagreed. "Rules are rules," a woman in a suit said firmly. Airport management arrived, a harried man with a terminal manager badge. He huddled with security, stealing glances at Melania. Her own security detail looked torn, caught between duty and protocol. The crowd swelled. People abandoned their gates, drawn to the drama. Hastily made signs appeared. "Stand your ground, Melania." "No one's above the law." Every moment streamed live. Comments flooded in from across the globe, turning the terminal into a stage for a battle of wills. The manager stepped forward, clearing his throat. "Mrs. Trump, if you won't comply, we'll have to ask you to leave." A hush fell. All eyes on Melania. Would she relent or stand firm? Slowly, she removed her sunglasses. Her eyes glistened with unexpected tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't want anyone to know." From her bag, she pulled a small, worn teddy bear. "It was Baron's first toy. I always travel with it. For luck. I couldn't bear the thought of it being damaged in the screening process." The officer's face softened. The crowd fell silent. The only sound the quiet click of a phone camera. The manager gently touched Melania's shoulder. "We understand, Mrs. Trump. We'll make sure it's handled with care." Melania nodded, finally allowing her bag to be inspected. The atmosphere shifted. Jeers faded to empathy. People who had been divided now shared looks of understanding. The terminal united in a moment of unexpected vulnerability. As the tension began to dissipate, a sudden commotion near the back of the crowd caught everyone's attention. Heads turned and whispers rippled through the onlookers as a familiar figure pushed their way forward. The crowd parted, revealing none other than Michelle Obama, her presence unexpected and electrifying. Michelle's appearance sent shockwaves through the terminal. Melania's eyes widened in surprise, her frustration momentarily forgotten. The security staff exchanged uncertain glances, unsure how to handle this new development. Even the most jaded travelers stopped to watch, sensing that something extraordinary was about to unfold. With grace and determination, Michelle approached the center of the commotion. Her voice, calm yet authoritative, cut through the buzz of speculation. "Excuse me," she said, addressing both Melania and the security team. I couldn't help but notice the situation here. Perhaps I can help? The crowd fell silent, hanging on every word. Here were two former first ladies from opposing political parties, face to face in the most unlikely of settings. The air crackled with anticipation as everyone waited to see how this would play out. Melania, her composure regained, nodded slightly. Michelle, she said, her voice a mix of relief and wariness. I didn't expect to see you here. Michelle smiled warmly. I was catching a connecting flight when I heard the commotion. Sometimes a fresh perspective can help in these situations. Turning to the lead security officer, Michelle spoke with the diplomatic skill honed from years in the public eye. Sir, I understand you're just doing your job, and it's an important one. But I also know that sometimes unusual circumstances require a bit of flexibility. Could you walk us through your concerns? The security officer, clearly flustered by Michelle's presence, explained the situation. As he spoke, Michelle listened intently, occasionally glancing at Melania with understanding in her eyes. When he finished, she turned to Melania. And your side of the story? Melania, encouraged by Michelle's calm demeanor, explained her position. As she spoke, the crowd leaned in, captivated by this unexpected turn of events. Michelle nodded, her expression thoughtful. With both sides heard, Michelle began to weave a path toward resolution. She highlighted the common ground between security protocols and personal privacy, drawing on her own experiences as a public figure navigating everyday situations. Her words seemed to soften the hard edges of the conflict, creating a space for understanding. We're all here with the same goal, Michelle said, addressing both Melania and the security team, to ensure safe travel while maintaining dignity and respect. Surely there's a way to achieve both. As Michelle spoke, the atmosphere in the terminal began to shift. The hostility that had charged the air earlier dissipated, replaced by a sense of cautious optimism. Travelers who had been filming the confrontation on their phones lowered their devices, more interested in the unfolding resolution than in capturing drama for social media. Melania, visibly moved by Michelle's intervention, took a step toward the security team. I understand your concerns, she said, her voice softer than before. Perhaps we can find a compromise that respects your procedures without making this more difficult than it needs to be. The lead security officer, caught between protocol and the persuasive presence of two former first ladies, nodded slowly. We might be able to arrange a more private inspection, he offered, glancing at his team for support. If that would be acceptable. As the details of the compromise were worked out, the crowd watched in amazement. What had started as a tense standoff had transformed into a masterclass in conflict resolution, led by an unexpected mediator. The crowd held its breath as the security officer slowly unzipped Melania's suitcase. His hands trembled slightly, the weight of expectation palpable. The zipper's teeth parted inch by inch, the sound echoing in the hushed terminal. As the lid lifted, a collective gasp rippled through the onlookers. Inside, neatly packed and carefully arranged, were dozens of handmade blankets, each one a vibrant tapestry of colors and patterns. Melania's face softened, relief and vulnerability replacing her earlier stern expression. She reached out, gently touching one of the blankets. Her fingers traced the delicate stitching as tears welled in her eyes. These are for the children, she said softly, her voice thick with emotion. I've been working on these for months. They're for a shelter for refugee children outside the city. The lead security officer's face flushed with embarrassment. Ma'am, we had no idea. Can you tell us more? Melania nodded, her gaze fixed on the blankets. I wanted to deliver them myself, to see the kids' faces when they received them. It's something I learned from my mother. She always said that a handmade gift carries a piece of your heart with it. The crowd stirred, murmurs of surprise and admiration replacing the earlier tension. A young woman stepped forward, her voice trembling. Mrs. Trump, I'm ashamed I thought the worst. This changes how I see you, how I see everything, really. Melania faced the crowd, her voice steady. We all make assumptions. What matters is how we learn and grow from our mistakes. These blankets remind us we all have the capacity for kindness, regardless of our backgrounds or beliefs. The security team began carefully repacking the blankets. The lead officer, still flustered, approached Melania. "Ma'am, we'll expedite your passage, and could we perhaps donate some blankets from our staff to your cause?" Melania's face lit up with a genuine smile. "Of course, the more we can help, the better." Word spread through the airport like wildfire. Travelers approached, offering to contribute. Some handed over cash, others promised supplies. A group of flight attendants volunteered to learn knitting and make blankets themselves. The media coverage shifted dramatically. News tickers now read, "Former First Lady's secret mission of kindness revealed," and "Melania Trump inspires wave of generosity at local airport." As Melania prepared to leave, the terminal manager approached. "Mrs. Trump, your generosity is truly inspiring. We've all learned an important lesson today." Melania nodded, her eyes bright. "These blankets are a reminder that we all have the capacity for kindness and compassion, regardless of our backgrounds or beliefs." As the true story of Melania's mission of kindness spread beyond the airport, the internet erupted with reactions. Social media platforms lit up with hashtags and trending topics, each one a digital ripple in the growing wave of public opinion. What started as a tense standoff at an airport security checkpoint had transformed into a viral phenomenon, captivating millions across the country. Twitter feeds and Facebook timelines flooded with posts about Number Melania's blankets. One user tweeted, "I can't believe I spent an hour arguing about designer luggage when she was carrying blankets for refugee kids. Talk about egg on my face." This sentiment echoed across thousands of similar posts as people grappled with their own biases and assumptions. News outlets scrambled to update their coverage. Headlines shifted from "Former First Lady and Luggage Dispute" to "Melania Trump's Airport Drama Reveals Unexpected Act of Charity." Producers frantically called in experts on everything from airport security protocols to the psychology of public perception, desperate to add context to a story that had spun far beyond their initial reports. Meanwhile, Melania's supporters saw the incident as vindication. They flooded comment sections with "I told you so" messages, pointing out how quick people had been to assume the worst. Critics found themselves in an uncomfortable position. Some doubled down, arguing that one good deed didn't erase past controversies. Others admitted they might have judged too hastily, sparking conversations about redemption and the complexity of public figures. The airport staff faced their own reckoning. Security forums buzzed with discussions about balancing protocol with common sense and compassion. "We're trained to be suspicious," one TSA agent wrote anonymously, "but maybe we need to be trained in empathy too." The incident sparked calls for reviews of security procedures, with some arguing for more discretion in handling high-profile cases. As with any internet sensation, memes and jokes soon followed. Images of Melania's face photoshopped onto superheroes carrying blankets instead of capes spread like wildfire. One particularly popular meme showed a blanket with the caption, "Most dangerous item in the airport today." The humor, while lighthearted, carried an undercurrent of self-reflection about how quickly society jumps to conclusions. Amidst the noise, a larger conversation began to take shape. People from all walks of life found themselves discussing the nature of celebrity, the right to privacy, and the danger of snap judgments. Thoughtful posts and articles emerged, asking readers to consider how they might react if their worst moment was broadcast to the world. In the days following the airport incident, a surprising shift began to take root. What started as a moment of tension and misunderstanding blossomed into an opportunity for growth and change. Melania Trump, once at the center of a media storm, found herself in a unique position to shed light on an issue close to her heart. The former First Lady didn't waste any time. She reached out to several refugee organizations, offering not just blankets, but her time and platform as well. Her actions sparked a conversation about the often overlooked needs of refugee children, bringing attention to a cause that had long struggled for the spotlight. As Melania's efforts gained traction, the public found itself grappling with an uncomfortable truth. Many realized they had been quick to judge based on preconceived notions. Social media, once ablaze with mockery, now buzzed with discussions about empathy and the danger of snap judgments. The incident prompted concrete action. Airport security procedures came under review, with officials recognizing the need for a more nuanced approach. The goal was to maintain safety without sacrificing human dignity. A TSA spokesperson announced, We're committed to finding a balance between thorough security measures and respectful treatment of all passengers. Media outlets, too, found themselves in the hot seat. The rush to break the story had led to sensationalized headlines. Now, newsrooms across the country were having serious discussions about responsible journalism in the age of viral content. For Melania Trump, the airport encounter marked a turning point in her public image. People began to see her not just as a former First Lady, but as a person with depth and genuine concern for others. She increased her involvement in children's charities, particularly those focused on refugee aid. As the dust settled, other public figures weighed in on the incident and its implications. Actors, politicians, and influencers alike shared their own experiences of being misunderstood or unfairly judged. These stories further fueled the ongoing conversations about empathy and assumptions. The airport encounter became more than just a fleeting news story. It evolved into a touchstone for discussions about celebrity, society, and the power of kindness. Schools used it as a case study in media literacy classes. Businesses incorporated it into sensitivity training. The incident had tapped into something deeper, something that resonated with people from all walks of life. The Melania Trump airport incident reminds us how quickly we judge. A routine check became a media frenzy, but revealed a touching act of kindness with blankets for refugee children. How often do we make snap judgments? What hidden depths might we miss in others? This story challenges us to look beyond the surface and seek understanding. Let's reflect on our tendency to judge quickly. Next time you encounter someone, pause and consider, what story might they be carrying? In our next video, we'll explore more stories that challenge our perceptions and reveal unexpected humanity.